Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another series of words for you. These words would help you speak better even in casual conversations, and you can help yourself by utilizing these words in exams like GMATs, SATs, and whatnot. So let's get started. Our first word right here is innocuous. Innocuous means someone who is not capable of causing damage, or you can also say they are harmless, right? So, innocuous is an adjective that means inability to cause harm or damage to someone, right? So, you can see right here, there is this cute little puppy, and I don't think he can harm anyone, right? So he's totally innocuous, right? Let's look at some examples. Some mushrooms look innocuous, but are in fact poisonous. That means some mushrooms might look like they won't harm you, but they can harm you because they are poisonous. So let's not go by the looks of mushrooms. Let's understand that they can be poisonous, right? Okay. He told amusing anecdotes about the war, so it seemed innocuous. Now, anecdotes are stories that are spoken in such a way that they seem very interesting and catchy, right? So, if someone told you a war story using anecdotes, it would seem to you that the war was very interesting. The war was not a big deal. Okay. So he told amusing anecdotes about the war, so it seemed innocuous. Because of the way he told the stories about the war seemed to be harmless, and harmless as in it did not cause any damage. But everyone well knows it that wars can cause damage, a lot of damage, right? The interviewer only asked boring, innocuous questions. That means the interviewer's questions were boring as well as they were not able to, cause any damage to the person's confidence or maybe test their skills at an extreme level. So the questions were innocuous. That means they were harmless. They were not really testing the other person in a strict manner, right? So innocuous, not capable of causing damage, or we can say they were just harmless, right? Innocuous can be used for just harmless. All right. Let's look at our next word, and that is inscrutable. Now, inscrutable means not showing emotions. Therefore, very difficult to get to know, right? So sometimes, our parents, they do not show their emotions, and it's very hard to understand what they're feeling, right? So in that case, we can say they are inscrutable, right? He believes that a certain portion of life must remain inscrutable. That means by a certain age or in a certain phase of our life, we should stop showing emotions extremely, right? We should try to hide or keep our emotions inside. He handled the questions with the inscrutable face of a diplomat. That means the questions that were put forth, he answered all of them without showing emotions about the questions. He was not very reactive, like, oh, that's a difficult question. Ah, that's an easy question, right? So he was not showing any emotions. That means he was inscrutable, or his face was inscrutable, right? Unlearn your pronunciation if it's inscrutable, right? So sometimes you must have heard people speak in a certain way that feels like they're devoid of all emotions and they sound totally like zombies, right? So if your pronunciation is such that the other person is not able to grasp emotions from your speech, that means you should not be using that pronunciation, right? So, any speech which is inscrutable might not attract your audience, right? So, inscrutable, not showing emotions, therefore, it's difficult to understand or get to know the person, right? All right. Insipid. Now, what is insipid? Not having a strong taste or character, or having no energy. Now, this kid right here, she seems out of energy. She's not really interested in eating that soup, right? So she is not having any energy. She's insipid. Or if something doesn't have a strong taste or doesn't have richness, right? For example, if the soup she's trying to eat, the soup is not having good taste, then this is an insipid soup, right? She said she was a good cook, but the food she cooked is insipid. That means the food she cooked was not having a strong taste. That food was like bland, right? Bland means it had no taste, right? So insipid means something that does not have a good, strong taste, right? Or any person who does not have energy. Why anyone buys music with such insipid lyrics is a mystery, right? So why would a person buy music that has, literally no energy in its lyrics? So that is still a mystery. He has opinions on everything, but most of them are insipid. That means his opinions are mostly out of character. Like there is no as such bulk in his opinions, nothing concrete. They are just vague, right? So insipid can be used for describing things as not having taste, as not having character, or not having energy, right? So that is insipid. All right. This guy seems very angry. So insolence. Insolence is rude behavior that does not show respect. You can see how this guy is shouting at the other guy, right? Totally rude. So he is insolent. Okay. Insolence is a rude behavior, and someone who is adapting to that rude behavior, let's say someone who is practicing that rude behavior, they would be called as insolent, right? So insolent would be an adjective. Rude behavior that does not show respect is insolence. So it is a noun. She tried to ignore their insolence, right? So she tried to ignore their rude behavior. Pupils could be excluded from school for insolence. That means people who are not being polite, kind to others in schools, they would be removed from the school, right? Or they could be excluded. They might not be having friends or they might not be able to form groups. I was out of patience with his insolence. That means I tolerated his insolence for very long. I tolerated his rude behavior for a very long time. Now I'm out of patience. I can't tolerate his insolence, right? So insolence means a rude behavior that does not show respect. All right. Our next word is intelligible. So intelligible seems like intelligent, right? So this word is very close to intelligent. Intelligible means capable of being clearly understood. In other words, I can say intelligible means comprehensible. If something is easy to understand, I would say it's intelligible, right? They do their best to make science intelligible to young children. That means they do their best to make the young children understand science. So they are trying to make science in such a way that it's clearly understood by the children. So if I am making something comprehensible, that thing would become what? Intelligible, right? If my speech was understood by everyone, that means my speech was intelligible, right? It was a poor phone connection, but some of his words were intelligible. That means even though the connectivity was poor, some of his words were still completely clearly understood, right? So intelligible words, words which were clearly understood. The book makes Eastern culture intelligible to Westerners. So the people from West would be able to understand the Eastern culture by this book. Clearly understand. That means this book is intelligent, right? So intelligible, something is capable of being clearly understood. In other words, I can say something is comprehensible, right? Interminable. Now, interminable means continuing for too long, and therefore something is becoming boring or annoying, right? So, if you have a certain session or a class or any lecture, and it continues for so long that it ends up being boring for you, right? Which would include most of our classes in schools or maybe in colleges, right? So, if something is continuing for too long and it is ending up becoming boring or annoying, I would say it's interminable, right? Like there is no intermission, it's just continuing, right? I had interminable problems with my laptop. It never worked well. Now, my laptop was so pathetic that it would have problems, and those problems continued for very long. So long that I was annoyed by that problem, right? We watched an interminable documentary on rice production. That means this documentary on rice production was very long and it ended up being boring, right? I guess certain documentaries are. Okay. My empty belly made the morning's lessons seem interminable, right? That means I didn't eat anything and I was on an empty stomach. So my morning lessons seemed like they would never stop. They continued for long and they ended up being boring for me, right? And the reason was because I did not eat anything. So interminable, something continuing for too long and ending up becoming boring or annoying. Intimately. Intimately means closely in a personal or sexual way or in a very detailed way, right? So you can use it to show someone's close relationship, or you can also use this word to say that something was very detailed. The two of them have been intimately involved for a year. That means they were having a close relationship for a year. She's been intimately involved in the project since it began. That means she was involved in the project in very detailed manner, right? So intimately can also mean in a very detailed, intense manner. He denied that he had ever touched the girl intimately, that he denied that he had ever touched the girl closely. So intimately, closely in a personal or sexual way or in a very detailed way, right? For example, I worked on this project intimately. That means I worked on this project in a very detailed manner, right? Okay. Intractable. Intractable means very difficult or impossible to control, manage, or solve. Now, if something is, near impossible, very difficult to control, to manage, or to solve, we say that thing is intractable, right? You're not able to control a certain pain, it's intractable. You're not able to manage a certain problem, it's intractable. Not able to solve a certain query, intractable. Intractable pain refers to a type of pain that can't be controlled with standard medical care. So, intractable pain can't be removed or we can't get rid of it simply by giving medicines, right? So, because that's very difficult to control or manage, so it's intractable pain. We have an intractable problem. That means we have a problem that we're not able to solve, right? A problem that is impossible or very difficult to solve. The economy still faces intractable problems. That means the economy is facing problems that are immensely difficult to manage, right? So that is intractable problem. So intractable means very difficult or impossible to control, manage, or solve, right? That is intractable. Very difficult or impossible to control maybe a pain, manage a problem, or solve a query. That is intractable, right? Okay, let's move on to our next. Intransigent. Intransigent means refusing to change your opinions or behavior. If you are stubborn and you would just not listen to the other person, you are fixated on your opinion, your behavior, and you don't want to change it, you are intransigent, right? The worry is that the radicals will grow more intransigent. The management continues to maintain an intransigent position. Now, the worry is that the radicals, people who are rebelling, they will grow more intransigent. They will grow more stubborn. They will stop refusing to change their opinions. Like they'll stop changing their opinions. They'll keep refusing to, you know, change their opinions or their behavior. The management continues to maintain an intransigent position. That means a position that won't not change the position. They are refusing to change their opinions or position, right? So the management continues to maintain their non-changeable position. He was a man of strong views and intransigent positions. That means this man, he would not change his opinions. He refuses to change his opinions or his behavior for anyone else. So that is intransigent, refusing to change your opinions or behavior makes you intransigent. Right? Okay. All right. So our next word is intrigue. Very intriguing word. To interest someone a lot, especially by being unusual, right? So if you catch someone's attention, someone's interest by being unique, by doing something out of the box, right? And you're making someone being interested in you, then you are intriguing them, right? If I am eager to know about something because I'm interested in it, then I'm intrigued, right? She weaves a complicated plot of romance and intrigue. That means she's telling a story which is filled with complicated plot. The story is very complicated, and the story is filled with romance, and there are elements which are making us interested, right? It's an exciting story of political intrigue and murder. So it's an exciting story that is filled with political excitement. Like we are eager to know more because of the political aspect, and there is murder too. His ingenuity and artistry never cease to intrigue the others. That means his way of creating things, his skill, his artistry, right? It never stopped to make others eager about what he's doing, right? So to intrigue someone means to interest someone a lot, especially by being unusual, right? Maybe a joker. Jokers are they have this different, unusual way of intriguing people, right? So that's intrigue. All right, time to revise. Intrigue, as we just read, to interest someone a lot, especially by being unusual, doing something out of the box, right? If you are being unique and you are catching someone's attention, you are intriguing them. If they want to know more, they are intrigued, right? So to intrigue someone is a verb. You are intriguing someone. That means you are doing something, therefore it's a verb. Okay. Intransigent, it means you are someone who refuses to change his or her opinions or behavior, right? You are stubborn, you are fixated on your ideas, right? For example, these two people right here, they refuse to listen to the other one. Why? Because they are intransigent. They refuse to change themselves based on someone's feedback, right? Intractable, it's It means very difficult or impossible to control, manage, or solve. If I am not able to manage something, control something, or solve something, I'll call that thing as intractable. A problem can be intractable, a pain can be intractable, a query, a worksheet, maybe an assignment, it can be intractable. Anything which is difficult or impossible to control, manage, or solve. Intimately is when you are in a close personal or sexual relationship, or intimately also means in a very detailed way. For example, these two people, they are intimately connected to each other, right? They're in an intimate relationship, close relationship. And we can also use intimately as this. I worked on this book intimately. That means in a very detailed way. Right? Interminable means anything that continues for too long and ends up being boring or annoying. Some movies, they are stretched and they do not have a storyline. They are just stretching the movie. So such movies end up being boring and they can be called as interminable, right? That means there is a movie which should be having 35 intervals has only one, and it keeps going on and on and on, ending up being boring, right? So a documentary, a movie, a book can be interminable. Problems can be interminable, right? And of course, the classes, the lessons, the lectures we take, they are interminable, right? Okay. Intelligible means anything which is capable of being clearly understood. If you can understand a concept clearly, if something is comprehensible, if my speech is comprehensible, if science is comprehensible, if a worksheet, if a lecture is comprehensible, you will say it is intelligible, right? For example, the speech delivered by him was intelligible. That means it was completely understood by us. That speech had the capability of being completely understood, right? So that is intelligent, right? Next is insolence. Rude behavior that does not show respect is insolence, right? So if someone is acting rude and they are being disrespectful, then they are insolent. And what are they doing? They are showing insolence, right? For example, this guy right here, he's an insolent man because he's being too insolent, right? And this guy is tired of his insolence, right? So insolence. Insipid, not having a strong taste or character or having no energy. Now, a food item can be insipid if it does not have good flavor or a strong taste, right? A food item can also be insipid because it does not have good texture. It seems, maybe it's too liquidy, or it's too hard, right? And if it has no taste, it's bland, then also it is insipid. And any music, any book, any person not having energy is also defined as insipid, right? So if someone is not having energy, insipid. Food, book, anything not having good character as in not having good story, right? Not having good flavor in it. Now, flavor as in food doesn't have flavor, but sometimes metaphorically we say books do not have flavors, right? But books can't really have flavors. This is just a metaphor, right? So strong taste is not there. That means the thing is insipid. Character not there, insipid. Energy not there, insipid, right? That's insipid. Inscrutable, a person who is not able to show emotions, and it makes us difficult to get to know them, right? So if you are not showing emotions and you are difficult to get to know, you are inscrutable. Right? Sometimes people pull an inscrutable face. That means a face, a poker face, which shows no emotions, right? So inscrutable face is like a poker face, right? Just like this man, He is showing no emotion on his face, that he has no idea of how to fix this table. And you can see how he has fixed this table. Totally seems like he has no idea. And his face doesn't really say that, right? So he has an inscrutable face, right? Innocuous, just like this cute pup here. Someone who is not capable of causing damage, or you can also say someone who is harmless. For example, mushrooms can look harmless, but they can be poisonous. Puppies are innocuous, they are harmless, right? All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all soon. Take care.